$3 million wall is big because before that, sometimes a business owner can kind of get away without building that leadership team. Like it's me and a bunch of other roles, and we can push this thing to 3 million. You're not going to get much further than that without starting to add very capable leaders. Add or develop. And I want to make that point because a lot of us were like super loyal to these early friends and family we hired to make this happen. At some point, though, your business will likely outgrow people that you've brought along. And so you either have to get really good at developing leaders fast enough to enable the growth that you want to have, or you got to get comfortable with changing out leaders or bringing in new leaders and having your early lieutenants kind of take other roles, because many of those folks won't be able to scale fast enough to get where you're trying to go.
Well, hello, and thanks for joining us on the Intentional Leadership Podcast. Today we have Brett Gilliland from Elite Entrepreneurs. He's been leading CEOs from small to grow, 7, 8, 9 figures. And today we're going to learn what gets in the way of each person's journey. And, it's pretty evident from what you've done. You can see exactly all the problems, all the steps, and now you've identified them. Welcome.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting. And before I get into that, it's an honor to be on your show, be here with you, Graham. It sounds like we're both very passionate about helping leaders get more intentional and be more effective in what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and you started off at Infusionstock, now Keep, and so you've been working with entrepreneurs for quite some time.
A long time, yeah. For the past 15 to 20 years almost. I mean, it's been more than 15, not quite 20.
Yeah.
And for the past 14 of those years, I've been working specifically to teach 7-figure business owners how to scale to 10 million and beyond. So,
great.
A lot of small business experience, a lot of entrepreneur scaling experience, and looking forward to spending time with you today.
Yeah. Well, and everybody here that's listening is an entrepreneur and so, this is the right group for you to be sharing your insights, and hopefully we can help them come up with some breakthroughs and ideas and move forward. So if you're a business owner and you're starting out, is that too early to talk to you, or are you working with people that are brand new to the business world?
Yeah, it is early to be talking to me, not because I don't like talking to them, but my expertise is really around the 7-figure journey. So that 1 to 10 million, in fact, I'll break it down because we have this idea that there's a stage change on the 1s and 3s of revenue. So 1 to 3 million, 3 to 10 million, those two stages in particular are what we focus on at Elite Entrepreneurs. But the 6-figure businesses, the 5-figure business, the startup ones, I have a ton of respect. I honor those folks, but I'm not great at the sales and marketing work that they really need to be focused on in those early stages.
Right. Well, and a lot of those businesses, they are the business. You're a plumber, and you're going out, and as much as you can invoice at night and on weekends is what you're going to earn. And it's a great lifestyle. It's a good way of earning a living, but it's not a true business in a sense.
Yeah, and I bet some of them would argue with you. You said it's a great lifestyle. Like, actually, it's not a great lifestyle. Not all the time. They may appreciate the flexibility, the ability to earn what they make or earn what they kill, right? The hunter mentality. But yeah, until they start building a team, building a business, they're just self-employed, right? They created a job for themselves. For sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, in the banking world, we had a similar breakdown that you have here on your schedule, and what we were talking about on your 5.5 secrets to serious business growth. And, we used to sit down, a new prospect would come in and they would let us know what their revenues were. And we're like, okay, well, they're in stage 1, they're in stage 5. And so, it was exciting to see this when you came up with it. But, if you have this solopreneur, at what stage, so they have 1 employee, they're making, you're kind of tapped out at potentially 300,000 just because, you can only invoice so much per hour unless you have a very niche skill set. And then they have 2-3 employees. Is that about the time they come visit you and talk to you?
Yeah, I would say the ones that really have the pains that we address really well is when they get to 6, 8, 10 employees actually. So it's not those early stages, but once they start, when they're approaching that $1 million revenue mark or they're breaking into 7-figure territory, that's when what we teach becomes hyper relevant for that stage.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and is there a time frame? Do you want them to be in business a certain number of years or anything else?
No, we just want them to have the pains that we are uniquely capable of helping them solve, right? So some businesses get there really fast. They see some that start up and they jump to $1 million in their first year or two. And others are in a family business, have been around for 15, 20 years, and they're finally ready to like grow this thing. So,
right.
Yeah.
And so if the pain points, cash flow, hiring, sales, marketing, what do you address?
Yeah, definitely not sales and marketing. We talked about that before. I'm horrible at that. Just be really transparent at that.
Yeah, that's good.
I've been around a lot of marketing experts, and I know some concepts, but I'm not a marketing and sales expert. But what I am expert at is when they have the sales machine working and the revenue's coming, but now they're tripping over their team issues, their internal, what I'll call business building work. So we hear people say all the time, you got to spend more time working on the business and not just in it. Well, a lot of the scrappy founders, right, gritty entrepreneurs, start this thing, they get it going, and they've built themselves into the core operations of the machine. Mm-hmm. It's not full self-employment. They got a team around them. Like they built something. It's working, but they're so inextricably linked to how it works that they can't work themselves out of that. And so more growth just means more pain for them. It's like, man, I can't keep my arms around it all. I'm getting burned out. Cash flow might be an issue. There are other business measurable things that are happening, but they know how to get clients. They know how to serve those clients, but they don't know how to do the business building work to do that at a higher scale.
Got it. And so they might, they are the plumber of the area, and they have 6 people working, but they're still invoicing at night. They're still getting up early and making sure the trucks have all the equipment on the truck. And at lunch, they're running around checking on job sites, making sure things are going. And then they're coming home and they're grinding it out all over again. Is that?
Yeah, they're the ones. They're the ones handling the challenging client or customer complaint. They're the ones dealing with a vendor or a supplier issue. They have a core operation that's working, but it's all the exception things that come up, the firefighting, some of the back office tasks that still have to be done when everybody else goes home. All of those things are happening, and the business owner's having a hard time keeping up with all of it. Right.
And then what are some KPIs? What are some things that are, hints or clues that you're looking for that you say, okay, we know we can help them, and this is, kind of where we're going to go.
Yeah, we know we can help them if the team is getting, I had said earlier, if their team's getting 6, 8, 10 people for sure. If they've got 10 or more employees, we can help them. If they are spending more time working in the business to keep it going than they would like, we can help them. If they've crossed over that seven-figure mark, they're in that 1 to 2 million revenue, probably sometimes as far as 3, but they're starting to hit a plateau. They've maxed out what they can do with the current system. They've built something that's perfectly designed to get what they're getting today, but incapable of getting them where they want to go. So those are the types of indicators that help us know they're in that prime spot for us to help them.
Yeah, I know that 1, 3, 10, 20, and then 50 were kind of the big ones we always looked at.
That's what you guys looked at. And ours is similar, slightly different. We stick to that 1 and 3 pattern. So we'll go 1, 3, 10, 30, 100.
Oh, okay.
And instead of 20 and 50, we'll stick with tripling. So every time you triple, you go from a 1 to a 3 or a 3 to a 10, right?
Yeah.
Back to 1. So every time you triple, there's a new stage It's sort of like riding a multi-speed bicycle. You're cranking along in a gear that makes sense for what you're doing. Then you want to get more yield out of that bicycle. Instead of shifting gears, a lot of business owners just pedal harder. And so they do this pedal harder for a long period of time, and then they start wearing out. So they get incremental yield out of that gear, but if they would just learn how to shift the gear, then we could actually expend similar or less effort and get more yield out of that bicycle, or more gain out of that business if they learn how to shift gears.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, especially we see that at that, like you said, that 1 to 3, you have those 6 to 8 employees. Now all of a sudden, maybe you should outsource the accounting and the bookkeeping. Maybe you should outsource, you're probably the best salesperson. You're probably technically the best in that. So maybe that's not where you start. Maybe you're the bookkeeper accountant that you just happen to start a business and you need to outsource some of this, so trying to find that, what are you better at than others?
Yes.
And focusing on that, I think is something that's really critical for people to realize, because you can't wear all the hats all the time forever.
Yeah, forever, right. I mean, you can, but then you're stuck at whatever level of performance you can do wearing all the hats yourself.
Right.
And there's no shame in that. Like, again, you and I both love the fact that there are people on this planet who are willing to put themselves out there, create something, right? Take that whole weight on their shoulders, but they're going to get stuck at some point. Even if they're superhuman, they reach the limits of what they can do without learning how to organize work and delegate those responsibilities. And you use the term outsourcing. They could specifically outsource, or I'm trying to say literally. They could literally outsource to another service provider outside their company, or they could hire somebody in to do that job. But it's the principle of organizing work and giving it to somebody else. And whether you use the term outsource or delegate or hire, doesn't matter. The principle is figure out how to let go of something that somebody else can do, and you get to stay in your lane of genius, or your zone of genius, as you were talking about. That's the path. That's the path forward. And some business owners are great at the sales and the marketing, and they need to organize the production, the fulfillment work, and give that to other people. Some people are really good at the technical, like I am the plumber, I am the coder, I am the marketing expert in an agency, for example, and I hang on to that technical hat and I hire or outsource the acquisition pieces. So I'm meaning the client or customer or patient or member acquisition, whatever your thing is that you sell, right? So yeah, that's a key starting point for many business owners who find that they're starting to get stuck. It's like, what am I doing that I could give to someone else? How do I start carving off pieces of that?
Yeah. I just reminded me, over the weekend, I bumped into a gentleman. He has 80 employees, and you look at him and, he's got grease in his fingernails, and he's, his hat, he doesn't look like the owner of the business. And so I asked him, I said, how do it looks like you're actually out doing the job. He goes, oh, as soon as I hit my 6th or 7th employee, I realized I hated employees. And so I put myself out in the field 100% of the time. I hired an office manager to run everything. And then from there, the office manager, the CEO, the CFO. And so he has 80 employees, and you'll never find him in the office. He doesn't, he checks in and that's it. He looks for his tasks that he's supposed to go do. And,
well, what he figured out is that part of the job is company building work. Mm-hmm. Part of the job is leadership. I've got to become a leader if I want to take my business to new heights. And he didn't want to become a leader. He said, no, I opt out of that. So I'll stay in a box in the org structure. Mm-hmm. Even if I'm technically the owner up here on the board of directors, the investor, I'm going to create a box where I contribute every day that's not a leadership role. And that's possible. Now, most business owners don't take that path. They're like, I can't imagine giving over all of the decision making to a CEO or a president or general manager or whatever. But yeah, some business owners realize I'm not cut out, or I have no desire to be a leader, and so I'm just going to contribute in the ways that enjoy doing, and I'll hire leaders to do that other stuff.
Yeah. And I thought it was brilliant. I mean, because I've seen it in smaller size businesses, but nothing with, significance like that. I was shocked that, he was the one out swinging the hammer still, and no one knew who he was when he was on the job site. So it's great. I admire that. I mean, I would never ask someone to do a job I wouldn't do myself.
Well, it's kind of that, what was that show? Like Undercover Boss or something.
Oh,
right. Where I know that was for fun or reality TV, but the idea is, hey, I'm the owner of this big company. I'm going to come down here and work in the trenches, a little disguised. And in some cases, that's where business owners would like to be. They're like, I don't want to deal with the weight of all that. I'll pay somebody else to deal with the weight of all that, and I'll just do what I enjoy.
Yeah. Well, and there's some times I know that, my wife and I with, her facilities company, you get this new contract and you have to make sure that everything's, set up going well. We want to be in the trenches. That's fun. That's invigorating. That's part of the, it's just part of the blood that goes on. And the team's like, hey, you set us up to do the work. Get out of the way. Don't interrupt. No. You don't understand. We'll do whatever. And it's like, no, just leave.
Yeah. I mean, there's some sacrifice in letting go of that. There aren't many things in business that bring the same level of endorphins to a business owner as getting that contract or, doing that initial setup with a client or whatever. Like there's a lot of endorphin activity happening when those sales happen with the new clients. And so we love that, but we have to learn how to transition where our excitement comes from. And we got to get endorphins from our team members achieving those things and our team members experiencing those things. And when they're excited, that can translate to us being excited. But if we get stuck of like, man, I really like to do the thing that we've always done, it's hard to elevate to that next level of value add that we have to do if we want to scale.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. So do you want to share with us you've mentioned the stages.
Yeah.
Some kind of that path that, it is and what it looks like.
Yeah. So you referenced a thing that we put out there on our website called the 5.5 Secrets. And it really represents these stages that we've been talking about, Graham. So on the 1s and 3s of revenue, there's a stage change. The reason there are 5.5 secrets is that we break out a half stage in that solopreneur range or that whole solopreneur stage. So for example, at first it's like a side job or a hustle, right? It's like, I'm just doing this thing. I've got a day job, but I'm starting something up. And so it's nights, it's weekends, it's holidays, whenever you have some time to work on that side hustle. Well, eventually you quit that day job and you make that side hustle your main thing. And so you go from earning maybe $30,000 a year as a side hustle to now, if you make it your full-time thing, hopefully you're approaching that 100,000 mark. And that's the first couple stages, really. It's one stage, but we have that extra half, that side hustle. So at that stage, every one of the stages, by the way, has a revenue range. It has like a number of employees that are typically associated with it. It has a team structure. It has a biggest hurdle. So what is the thing that we have to figure out or the key to success at that stage? Mm-hmm. And when you're doing the side hustle thing, the biggest hurdle is time. We got to figure out how to master time and use it in a way that moves our side hustle forward. I'm not going to stop and give tips on all these biggest hurdles at this point. We could come back to it if you want. So I just want to lay it out for people. So the biggest hurdle when you have a side hustle is time. When it's your full-time thing, but you're still self-employed, the biggest hurdle is getting leads. Like, how do I find enough interest out there to keep this thing going? Mm-hmm. So once you cross over that $100,000 mark, now it's like, okay, maybe I can afford to bring somebody else on and start getting some help. And you always have to add people at a rate that's affordable, right? If you must have $100,000 to provide a living for yourself, your family, then you can't take a big chunk out of that and bring somebody else on. But to the extent that you can start hiring some part-time help or start outsourcing a little bit here, a little bit there. So as you grow your sales, you're able to start channeling some of that revenue, some of that financial lifeblood into adding team members to do more work. And the biggest hurdle in this stage from 100,000 to 300,000 is sales. So before that, it was how do I generate enough leads to keep myself going? After that, it's how do I grow my sales capability beyond just keeping myself fed? So 100,000 to 300,000, in our opinion, is all about mastering sales or learning sales enough to be able to grow beyond that point. And now you have 2 or 3 people, and now it's time to move to stage 3, which we call.
I want to stop you real quick because I was thinking, in first 1 and 2 specifically, in number 1, it's the side hustle. And with that, you're still at your day job, you're still grinding away, and you're adding something. And you're careful because financially, there's less, so a lot of people don't realize the entrepreneurs are doing that. They think, oh, they just quit and magically had 5 employees, and it doesn't happen that way. And then, like you said, and I love it because I think it's critical people realize is when you do hire the first employee or you do delegate the work, you hire part-time, full-time, outsource, whatever it looks like, make sure you've analyzed the finance of it. What value is that person? If it's going to cost, the person's going to cost you $50,000 a year, is the value going to be 50 or at least 100 or something?
Right?
Yeah, right. and it might be that 50 is really just for your health and sanity, but but I think that's critical. What you said is not just going. We hear too often, I think, about these crazy companies getting millions of dollars and the burn rate. It's like, no, burn rate is not really, that's not a business. That's not a healthy thing. And
that's not what we're talking about today.
No. And that's why I wanted to bring that up and slow you down before you hit number 3. So go ahead and get to number 3.
You did, Graham. It's important. I got a lot of this experience in software companies and, we did have venture capital, but the principles of not outspending your resources matter a lot, right? And small business owners get this intuitively. Unfortunately, sometimes they make the wrong bet. And I don't mean to bring in a gambling term here, but when we hire somebody, are we hiring the highest leverage role at this stage of the business? Because if we need help with bookkeeping and we need help with sales, and a little investment in sales gets us more money to be able to get some help in bookkeeping, there's like an order of operations sometimes. And it's not one size fits all. So I can't make I can't come in here and say this is how it should be for every business. Because some business owners are naturally gifted at sales. They don't need to go invest in outside sales help or other people helping them sell right away. And they need to get help with other things like bookkeeping or organization or something like that. So it's not one size fits all. There's no prescription that can be written for every single business that fits. So just know that as you build the team, you're going to do it in ways that your business can afford. And the sooner you can start making investments and help that yield higher results, the quicker you're going to be able to grow.
Perfect. All right. I love it.
All right. So stage 3, by the way, stage 2, we call the new employer stage. Stage 3, we call the steady operation. We learned how to get clients and we've learned how to serve clients at a higher level scale. So this is 300,000 to $1 million. We're mastering the getting and serving of clients, the core operations of the business here. Before that, it was like survival. It's product market fit. We got to manage our time well. We got to manage these early resources well. And we're starting to get the machine going. Now the machine is going and we're getting and serving clients and we're learning how to do that at a higher level. For 300,000 is quite a bit different than $1 million, right? But that tripling all through there, it's getting and serving the clients. And the biggest hurdle there is consistent lead generation. You might be like, well, wait a minute, Brett, you said leads was a hurdle back when I was doing side hustle or when I was doing solopreneur work. It was, But that was onesie twosie kinds of leads. It's like beating the bushes kinds of leads. This is the version of leads where we got to have consistent lead generation happening to fuel this bigger machine that we have now. It can't be onesie twosie, go out and beat the bushes and find the individual jobs. It's got to be, we're learning how to generate leads consistently in a predictable way.
Right.
Okay, that's the biggest hurdle when you're going from 300,000 to $1 million. Now, when you break into the $1 million range, you should have 10 or more employees, right? Or 8 or more, let's say. And you should know how to get and serve clients already. That's not the business. That's not the work of company building that we're doing now. Now it's about people and systems. Like, we actually need to start figuring out how to hire, lead, and fire to a vision. We need to have a clear vision about what we're building now. It's not just enough to say, well, I have this idea to build a company or sell this product or this service. It's like, okay, where are we going together? And we is an important word. There's a team now. Where are we going together? It's not just the genius business owner hired a bunch of helpers. Nope. How do we have specialized people in well-defined roles who are moving together towards a shared vision? That's the kind of work that we start to do in that 1 to 3 million range. And a lot of business owners don't know how to do it. They know how to be scrappy and get their thing off the ground. And we market, we sell, we fulfill. We market, we sell, we fulfill. And they don't know how to do this business building work that starts to happen. There's process documentation, and there's hiring, and there's onboarding, and there's a strategic planning process. Like, I need to have an annual set of priorities and a quarterly priorities that are not the day-to-day operations, but the future company building work. That if we don't do that work, we'll just be stuck on the treadmill of the thing that we've already built. So there's a whole set of company building things that have to happen starting at that 1 to 3 million range. And then it just goes up from there. 3 to 10 million, we actually hire a bona fide leadership team. Mm-hmm. It's not all at once, but it's like, okay, we need a strong leader to help us get revenue in or customers in the door. We need a strong leader on the operations or the production side of things. Maybe it's time to get a leader for the back office, finance, HR, IT. There are things that have to start taking shape. But by 10 million, you have a fully built out leadership team, and it's just a different game. So the business owner goes from learning and doing to leading leaders, right? So there's an evolution there. Unless, like the example you pointed out earlier, where you said he had 80 employees, but he didn't want to be the leader of leaders. He didn't even want to be the leader. So he's still working down here, but he still had to build out that structure, and he hired somebody else to do it. So that's the progression in a nutshell. I know I went through those really fast. You're welcome to tease out other details that might be interesting to your audience.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And I think it's important people can get the big picture before we can maybe come in and break it down. I think that, from my experience with working with businesses through, coaching and also back in the banking days, and that 3 million is a big number to break. I mean, it's a wall that is super thick, and people don't realize it. And I think what you were mentioning about that is, tell me some of the details of it, but that wall is, now you have to think about, I might need a controller here, not just somebody to do the invoicing, right. APAR. I might need an operations manager. I might need, somebody else on the team to join me. Yeah. And I think that's one of them. And then the other is that you had mentioned the leads are trickling in potentially, and that gets you to the 3 million, but to consistently hang out there, if they fall off because you're out grinding away doing them, you're not going to, now all of a sudden you have the cycles of, the highs and the lows, and it's hard to make it consistent. So, those are a couple of things that I remember us just looking at it going, wow, how can we help these people get through this barrier?
Yeah. So I actually want to take those in reverse order. The one you most recently said was about the marketing, the lead generation. And I mentioned that as the biggest hurdle, the key success factor for stage 3, when you're going from 300,000 to $1 million. I just want to make this point that when you figure out that biggest hurdle for each stage, it's not that that becomes irrelevant going forward. Everything we're talking about is additive, right? And that at each stage change, there's a new version or a next iteration of something you've mastered before. So lead generation from 300,000 to 1 million is super important to get to 1 million, but the version or the sophistication or the complexity of that lead generation is not what it needs to be when you're going from 3 million to 10 million, right? Like there's a next level, and there's adding new lead sources or new channels. And so everything that you mastered previously has to be continually evolved and matured over time. And then you got to figure out the key to the next stage. So anyway,
yeah.
The $3 million wall is big because before that, sometimes a business owner can kind of get away without building that leadership team.
Right.
Like it's me and a bunch of other roles, and we can push this thing to 3 million. You're not going to get much further than that without starting to add very capable leaders. Add or develop. And I want to make that point because a lot of us were like super loyal to these early friends and family we hired to make this happen. At some point, though, your business will likely outgrow people that you've brought along. And so you either have to get really good at developing leaders fast enough to fuel the growth, to enable the growth that you want to have, or you got to get comfortable with changing out leaders or bringing in new leaders and having your early lieutenants kind of take other roles, because many of those folks won't be able to scale fast enough to get where you're trying to go.
Yeah, and it may not even be scale fast enough. They may not be able to scale. They're comfortable in their role. Yeah, they're comfortable in their role. They got you to the point. They're wonderful people. They're fabulous at their job to that point. And those are hard conversations. Those are
really hard. Yeah, you almost have to be aware of this in advance and have conversations all along with people that say, "Hey, love what you're doing right now. This is a perfect fit for what I need in this role. As we grow, there's going to be new requirements, new things that I need out of this role. And if you can learn that fast enough, I can keep you in that spot. If you can't learn it fast enough, or you find joy in doing it here, that's fine. Let's keep you here." But that just means, your ego is going to have to be able to absorb having another leader come in and take leadership. And, you might be further away from me. Right now, we enjoy this close working relationship, but over time, there might be other leaders that come in and we won't work as closely together. And so if that's a thing for you, you just need to know that happens in companies that grow, right? And you have to bring in people who understand that the business might outgrow them if they don't keep up with it.
I think that's a great point. If you can have those conversations early and often, before it becomes a problem, then you can transition. Because some people, like you said, the ego, it's like, nope, I've been the operations manager and I should still be one. Well, you were fine until 5 million. And
you were great from 1 to 3.
Yep.
You were okay till we got to 5 or 6, but I can see clearly I need somebody who knows what it looks like to go from 3 to 10, all the way to 10. And there are people who know they're really good at that. And there are people who know how to go from 3 to 10 and then 10 to 30. But usually leaders have like a 1 to 2 stage lifespan in them. And then it's like, we got to have somebody else in there.
I agree. And I think that it's interesting that there's another piece of that, I guess, is that the fact that you could also go in and you could hire you could hire the CFO of Coca-Cola, and you're at $5 million. Probably not the right hire either. Because
Graham, I love that you said that. I've seen that mistake multiple times. Not many people are getting the CFO of Coca-Cola. Well, like you're saying, right? Big company experience. Like they're going to come in here and help us be great. There's such a big disconnect between the world they're used to operating in and the states that you're at. They come in and they're kind of frozen. They don't know how to operate with this size of team, this size of budget, this level of sophistication when it comes to like reporting and systems technology. Like it's a different world. And even if they've been there before, if they spent any amount of time in big company environments, it's really hard to bring them down into our stages and have them be successful.
Yeah,
Really hard.
it is. I have not seen it. I'm trying to think of all of them that have done that, and it's broken the company and the systems, and it's never worked. And never meaning I cannot think of one time. I'm running through all of them. Maybe I'm missing one, but
Yeah, no, it's very, very rare.
it is weird. Yeah. So
I mean, you have to risk a fair amount financially even to get them to come in.
right.
And then it might require a chunk of equity in your business to just convince them that they could come do it. Or maybe it's a brother-in-law or a cousin or something like, hey, I'm winding down my career. Why don't I come and help you do this thing? I've seen all the reasons why it looks good on paper.
Right.
They usually struggle big time to make anything happen there.
Right. And it's also what you said, though, hire for somebody that's 2 cycles away. They're 2 cycles. Hire someone that can grow with you, not somebody that you're going to have the tough conversation with in 1 cycle.
That's
hey, you were great at 5 million. Now we're at 7. Sorry. Hire someone that can go 5 to 20, maybe even 5 to 30, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And then, so that there's opportunity for them that is big enough that they want to stay and that they have the skill set that matches.
Yeah. Graham, I want to put a really fine point on this too, because if they have really great experience at 30 million, it does not mean they know how to go from 10 to 30 or 5 to 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
So don't make the mistake of like, well, they're at a $30 million company. Maybe they entered a $30 million company and they're really good at operating in that space. But unless you have somebody who actually knows what it looks like to go from where you're at to where you're trying to go, you don't assume, I hear the point of the big company thing. That's obvious or more obvious.
Good point.
But if they're at the tail end of where you're trying to go, make sure they have the experience that they were where you are and know how to do that run in their function.
Mm-hmm.
Then if they're the sales leader from 5 to 20 or 10 to 30, great. They can help you go from there. But if you're at 1 or 3, don't assume they can go from 1 to 3 to where they are now. Like they know a certain part of that journey. Hire people who can do what you're needing.
Mm-hmm. And I think, I wonder, it's just making me ponder the thought of as we're all entrepreneurs, we're all trying to think and grow and do this. We're looking at, we can't hire someone that can go from 1 to 30. And then we as the owner and the entrepreneur, we really have to be able to do that and make that journey ourselves along the way. And
I will say that of all the leadership roles in the company, the entrepreneur is the one that tends to scale better than the rest. I mean, it doesn't mean they have no problem with it. Like they have to. In fact, I want to make this point. I'm glad you're talking about this, Graham. I worked closely with Clayton Mask, who is the CEO, one of the co-founders of Infusionsoft, and then Keep. We're still good friends. We talk a lot. He used to always say, when we were growing fast, we grew from 7 figures to 100 million. Okay, not overnight. We went through the stages, all those pain points. 3 to 10, there was a pain point. 10 to 30, there was a pain point. 30 to 100 million, problems all along the way, right? So we grew through those stages. What he would always say to people that we hired, and we were onboarding people pretty quickly. 1 year we hired close to 200 people. Okay, we were moving fast. And what he would say to them every time we'd bring him in for onboarding, we'd say, look, what do these people need to hear about the pace of growth and how we're learning here? He would say, I'm not the CEO today that the company needs me to be 12 months from now. But you can count on the fact, you can take it to the bank. You've been bringing up banking. You take it to the bank, but by the time we get there, I will be that CEO. And he was reading 6 books a quarter, and he was doing coaching. He was pushing himself to grow fast enough to be able to stay in that CEO seat as we were growing fast as a company. So, he went from 1 to 3 and 3 to 10 and 10 to 30 and 30 to 100. And that's as far as he went. I think they went to 120 or something like that. But, he didn't make the leap from 100 to 300 million. Didn't happen for him. Mm-hmm. And they sold Keep to another company called Thrive. So, he got off that bus. But he went through many, many stage changes, way more than most people make it. But it was that constant drive to be pushing himself to learn, to grow, to figure it out.
Yeah, no, and that's impressive that he would do that, and then realize, hey, this is the wrong bus for me. I'm out.
But yeah, my time on this train is done.
Right? Yeah. No, and it, people will go, well, it's probably because of the money. It's like, no, it wasn't because of the money. It was because of the love, the passion, the excitement. Just at that level, when you hit that 100 million mark, things are completely
It doesn't feel
different.
entrepreneurial anymore.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a machine that's working, and it's not fun. So that's
Well, at least for him. For some people, that's fun, right? I'll take it from 100 million to a billion or whatever. Yeah.
right. Yeah. No, and then that's a different mindset. But no, I agree.
Yeah.
And skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did we miss? Is there, what key takeaways would you impart on people that you think that, they should hear?
Yeah. Well, since that high growth experience came up, I'll share with people the two things that I took from that I wish we would have done better.
Okay.
I think that would be instructive. So, we hired a bunch of people. We created a world-class culture. We were top 25 best small workplaces in America. Okay, not the local Phoenix metro area one, not the state of Arizona. In the nation, we were one of those top companies to work for, and we had lots of applicants. We didn't have a hard time finding talent. We created a place people wanted to be at. That was great. But what I learned in that run was, and it's stuff that investigators probably would have picked out of our conversation earlier, but we did not develop leaders fast enough. And that's why I tried to make the point. Mm-hmm. You got to be developing yourself and others faster. So we had to go externally to go find those $100 million, SVPs or VPs or whatever. Like we had to bring in big talent because we didn't grow them fast enough internally. And guess what happens when you bring in big talent from big companies? They have their ways of doing things, and our culture took a huge hit. Like it just took a jackhammer to the foundation that we had built. And that was really hard. We didn't recover from that. So one thing is, even if, whether you're in home service business, if you're B2B, if you're a consumer, I don't care. If you have to grow a team of people to scale your business, you have to be thinking like we're turning this business into a leadership factory. Yes, we sell widgets. Yes, we provide a service. Yes, we do all of that. But we're creating a leadership factory. Because the faster you can crank out leaders, the better you'll be able to grow while preserving your unique identity, your culture, your specialness. And if you have to hire a bunch of leaders from the outside, you put all of that at risk. So develop leaders faster. And then the other one is guard the front door of your business with your life. Like, don't let people in that don't belong. And we did that so well for a long time, and we preserved it for a long time. But as soon as we started hiring people to take the culture piece, the people processes away from us, because we outgrew that, we had to move on to other roles, and we just didn't preserve that well enough. And when you start letting enough of the wrong people in, it slows things way down. It messes things up. So get really good at hiring great people that fit your culture, your unique identity, and then develop leaders as fast as you can.
I like that. Yeah. And leadership is so undervalued in a way, just because there isn't a way to monetize what it looks like. You can't quantify, if I spend $100,000 a year on leadership coaching for my team, what does that specifically translate to? It's
challenging.
It's hard.
I'll tell you what happens if you don't do it. You lose all your growth momentum. You lose the ability to hire and maintain great people, which is extremely expensive. Mm-hmm. You start to lose your edge in all the things that matter, in your lead generation, your sales. Like it ends up being everything. Here's another way to say it: your business can't outgrow your leadership. So if you invest in leadership, your business can keep growing. If you don't, you're going to tap out at whatever level your current leadership can take it. And that applies to the business owner, the entrepreneur, but it also applies to the senior leadership team, and by extension, to your collective leadership capability will define how far you can take your business.
I agree 100%. So people, they want to get a hold of you. They want the 5.5 Secrets. Well, actually, before I even go there, you had an event this week, or last week rather.
Yeah, it was a week and a half ago now. A week ago Friday. We had an event in Park City. We call it our Elite Leadership Summit. And the reason we call it our Leadership Summit, the reason we created it is specifically because of what we just talked about. We know that all of our elite entrepreneurs, community members cannot outgrow the level of their leadership. And so we dedicate one of our quarterly events every year to just leadership. So we run quarterly events for our community, and then by extension to any 7-figure business owners that want to come in and get what we've put together. They can buy a ticket and come. But yeah, one of those quarterly events in a year is completely dedicated to leadership, and we just had that event, and it was awesome.
That's great. And well, there isn't a better place, is there, right now? You go mountain biking? Is that what you do?
Park City was beautiful. Yeah, we organized a UTV ride for those who wanted to, pay a little bit to come and eat some dust out on the trails. It was fun. Had a good time.
Oh, that's great. So you have 5.5 Secrets. We'll put that in the show notes so everybody.
Yeah, the 5.5 Secrets, they can get it on our website.
Oh,
our
perfect.
website is growwithelite.com. They can find it. We certainly run ads for the 5.5 Secrets as well. They can find it on social media, but they can go to our website and opt in for the 5.5 Secrets. Get the whole stages document we were talking about, and it'll walk you through. There's video that walks you through each of the stages, and yeah, it's a good resource. It's free.
Yeah. No, that's great. And then we'll put that in the show notes too. Your website, your URL. Is that the best way to get a hold of you? Just go to that Grow with Elite.
Growwithelite.com.
Mm-hmm.
And if you relate at all to that 7-figure journey, if you're like, man, I'm in that early 7 figures and my team's starting to grow, it's starting to feel a little bit more complex. I'm getting stuck in some way, whether that's with my team or in our revenue growth. If you're feeling stuck, you've been working hard and you feel like I'm about to burn out if I keep doing all this the way that I'm doing it, there's a better way.
Right.
We can help you with that. Yeah.
Perfect. Good. Any last parting comments before we cut it off and let people get back to work?
I said this earlier, but I just want to honor who you all are as business owners, as entrepreneurs. You are the ones that create. You have an idea, or at least have an initiative or ambition to do something, and we love that. We honor it. We love to serve it however we can.
Yeah, I second that. I love the crazy entrepreneur and the impact on the world we can make, individually and collectively. So if we can help each other out, let's make it happen. So thanks for listening to the Intentional Leadership Podcast. Thanks, Brett.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Graham.